and welcome to Creating in Color, sharing the creative endeavors of people of color. I'm your host, Kaybe, and today we speak with Deborah A Anderson, a post-production coordinator whose past work includes, but not limited to, PBS Kids Weather Hunters and Amazon Prime's Invincible. How are you today, Deborah?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you so much for asking. So, what is a post-production coordinator?
Um, so a post-production coordinator, it's a person. I've been a post-production coordinator maybe, let's see, 3 times. Well, I was a script coordinator for them, but a coordinator nonetheless. It's the person that kind of organizes stuff. Because you'll have the producer of the show, and then you might have the line producer, or the line producer might work as producer, because in LA we have a lot of like smaller studios, so it's not as like sectioned out. And then you'll have the production managers who help the line producer, and then the production coordinator who helps the production managers. And then you might have like PAs. I haven't At small studios. I haven't been anywhere where they've had PAs. The production coordinators were the lowest rung of the production team, but kind of like organizing stuff, planning meetings, exporting like or sending stuff out to interested parties, whether that be the studio you work at or the vendor studios that are doing the work, or maybe if you are produced by like one of the streaming platforms or something, you might be sending stuff to them. So it's just more of a like, are you good at organization? Do you like using Excel spreadsheets? Can you schedule things on like either Google Calendar, Teams, or something like that? So it's a way to be in the industry. You might not be doing something artistic, but you're still in the mix.
Nice, very nice. How did you get started?
In animation overall, or as a production coordinator?
Animation overall and how you found your way into production.
So as far as animation, as a kid, I was always good at math and art, but math typically kind of won over with wanting to be an architect, wanting to be an industrial designer, and then at some point I kind of landed on electrical engineer. I'm from Michigan, so there was like this program called Project Lead the Way, where you could take engineering classes in high school. So I took like digital electronics and Rhino and AutoCAD and stuff like that. And my dad is a college professor, and so he got me and my twin brother to do dual enrollment. I think we had to pass some type of Michigan test at the time, and then if you passed it, then they will pay for you to go to college while in high school. And so I went to Schoolcraft Community College is that in Livonia? I don't know. And I took 7 classes my junior and senior year, and the 7th class
Uh-huh.
was 3D animation. So I took like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Flash. I took 2 Flash courses. I think I took Adobe After Effects, Macromedia Director, which doesn't exist anymore, and then 3ds Max. And so and that was my senior year, I believe. It must have been the beginning of my senior year, but once I took that 3D class, I'm like, okay, this is a perfect meld of my like analytical brain and my creative brain. Because even as an artist, I could draw things from real life, but drawing things from my head was like a struggle. So
Hmm.
3D modeling kind of like was the bridge to being able to create. Um, and some people don't like the pushing and pulling of points, but it was like, oh, this is my jam. And so I ended up going to college to get a film and animation degree at Rochester Institute of Technology in upstate New York. So I graduated with that degree. And when I graduated from college, it was like one of the many recessions, so it was really hard to get a job. And so I decided to go to South Korea to teach English. And
Hmm.
then I accidentally got a job at an animation studio. So like I was I was going to do a second year teaching English, because it was very easy, at least at the time. It takes it's more requirements now, but like at the time you just had to have a degree in anything and be from like America, Canada, England, um, Australia, New Zealand, and maybe Ireland, and then be a native speaker. And so I just had to like teach 4 classes a day, public school. I had to do like the Hagwons, where it was like teaching at night. So it was very easy, and it was like a fairy tale land. So I was thinking about doing a second year, and then one of my friends over there was like, "Don't you have a degree in animation?" And I'm like, oh yeah. Because like the further you are out from like getting your degree, the more things change, the harder it might be to break into the industry. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, I guess I'll go back to the States. But I had never seen an animation studio, so I was like, let me just go to Google Translate and email all these Korean animation studios to get a tour. And that's literally all I was asking. I was like, I just want to see an animation studio. So one in the city that I lived in, Gwangju, which is Jeollanam-do, which is the south one. There's two Gwangju, so it's the southern one. And then one studio in Seoul responded. And even when I was going around the one in Gwangju, she was like, it was like an incubator where it was like a bunch of small studios, and she was like, you don't know Korean and you can't like work here. And I'm like, I'm just trying to get a tour. I don't care. And then when I went to Seoul, they took me around, and then at the end of the tour, they were like, "Oh, do you have a demo reel?" And I was like, "No, but I can." And so for the next 4 months, I like worked on my first demo reel. Which, hindsight being 2020, that's probably why I didn't get a job in America, because I was not properly prepared. But hey, you learn the hard way. So I did my demo reel, and then they like welcomed me back up to Seoul and offered me a job. So like I literally didn't do that on purpose. I didn't even have the thought to be like, let me work here, because I knew I wasn't fluent in Korean. So I was like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I'll do it. I was kind of scared because teaching English, they give you your apartment. In my apartment, they also paid my bills. So I was like, I have to like be a real adult in the foreign country if I take this job.
Oh my goodness.
But the vice president helped me a lot and helped me find a apartment where this lady was renting out to like international students. So I just took one of the rooms. And
Oh, that's good.
then I moved back to the States. I worked in Louisiana for a little bit. One job at Turbo Squid, and then another job working for the state of Louisiana as an animation specialist. And then I felt like I got too figuratively big for New Orleans. And so I decided to move, which was, I didn't know where to go because I thought I was going to be in New Orleans for forever. So I had to like do research on like, where do I want to go? Because it wasn't like I've always wanted to live here. I thought I was going to be in New Orleans. So Los Angeles was not on my list at first because I'm too old to be poor. But I was in the Urban League, and I went to a conference, and the president from the Bay Area convinced me to put Los Angeles on the list, and somehow I picked it. And then I ended up here, and I was traditionally a 3D modeler most of my career, but I don't have a new demo reel, and in surviving in LA, I just haven't had the time to create a new one. And so being a production coordinator and assistant editor is just like the easiest thing to do. So that's what I've been doing. That's what led me to production coordinating, because it's just like I need to pay my bills.
Understandable, relatable. Yeah. Well, what a journey. Oh my goodness. From what it sounds like, you did kind of want to like go into animation pretty early on, with your interest in art and also math.
Yeah.
But yeah. Did you ever look into any other industries before landing on animation besides like architecture?
No, just like engineering. I was gonna go full gung ho math. But other than that, like it was either a meld of art and math or just like math type stuff. Because I went to up to AP calculus in high school. I didn't pass the test, but I still went to class.
But you still did it.
I was like, wow, I got the lowest score. I promise I know how to do this stuff in class. But like the only reason I took the test was because my teacher in high school was like, you can either take my test or take the AP test. And then if you take the AP test, no matter what score you get, you just pass. And I'm like, well, if I pass the AP test, I can get college credit. So I'll do that. So I still got credit for my final, but I didn't get college credit, at least from that. I got college credit for other things. But
I see.
There's a lot of laziness that is like instrumental in my journey. The reason I chose RIT was because I like did AP English, AP Calc, like did all the things in high school, and then was like a portfolio for college, pish posh. And then I'm just like, oh, I could go to, because I also wanted to play basketball in college, and not a lot of art schools have sports. So I only had like 3 schools to pick from: SCAD, RIT, and then there's a school in Canada called St. Clair College. And so SCAD required a portfolio. So I'm like, I applied to RIT, and then I got in. So
It all worked out.
yeah.
So, what does your daily routine look like?
It depends on the studio. Like the current studio, it's very light. But when it was more kind of rigorous, it was mostly like when I was at 6 Point Harness, it was a lot of like keeping track of voice recordings and the lines that different characters had. It was like attending voice recordings and keeping track of circle takes in the voice recordings. For anybody who doesn't know what a circle take is, essentially a voice actor can do the line maybe 5 times, and the voice director will be like, okay, I like B and D, like A, B, C, D, E, the 5 times, just pick the circle takes. Those are the ones that they like the best. And then when you give them to the editor choose which ones, or they might pick one circle take and then that's just the one. But if the editor determines like, it doesn't really sound right, they might go into the other takes. Like when I was production coordinator at 6 Point Harness, I also was kind of being an assistant editor because I actually got recommended by somebody to be an assistant editor, but that job didn't open until like June of 2023. So I was doing both roles. So it was like more rigorous than if I was just a production coordinator. And so with the assistant editor role, that was helping the assistant editor take, so the storyboard artists would do their storyboards in Storyboard Pro. I would have to convert it to Adobe Premiere, and so I would do the process there, and then we also had to do the process back the other way, which was like the first time any project at 6 Point Harness had done that, so I had to like troubleshoot a lot of things. I think they usually used Photoshop or something. I don't know, but yeah. So and then sometimes I would get to like in the beginning I got to put in like sound effects and stuff like that, but it was just such a rigorous schedule that my editor wanted me to learn more, but I just couldn't learn as much because they had tight deadlines and stuff like that. So but yeah, and then when I in June of 2022, that's when I just switched fully to assistant editor. But I just personally decided to continue to stay on the voice recordings, which was a part of me being production coordinator. I got to work with Cree Summer. She was our voice director.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So I just didn't have faith that everything would go smoothly if I left that. So I just was like, let me stay in this part so that at least the assistant editors can know everything that was going on in that respect. So
I see. Well, now that you're not in that role anymore and not at 6 Point Harness, what does your daily routine look like now? It's obviously not as rigorous as working and balancing these two different roles as one position.
Yeah, again, it's very light. So I would. It's better to go over my weekly routine because there's not really sometimes there's not a daily routine because I'm just like waiting for something to happen. But things that I do is I export to like Amazon Prime, different episodes, and I send stuff to Skybound, and I also schedule meetings for the editors for the different episodes and different versions for them to meet with the showrunners and the director.
And what support softwares or resources do you use or would recommend for someone trying to break in?
So for production coordinator, it definitely depends on the studio because there's just been so many different things used at different studios. But ShotGrid, Storyboard Pro, if you're going to be doing some conforming back and forth, particularly in pre-production, knowing how to just have a handle over Adobe Premiere, maybe even After Effects, depending. That's mostly for like assistant editing. First time I was at Skybound in an assistant editor trainee program, I had to do some stuff for the VFX artists, and that was like in After Effects. Just depending on if it's just Microsoft Office Suite or Google Docs, just knowing how to use spreadsheets, maybe even learning how to like color code and all that stuff. Like it's interesting different people's color like choices because some stuff is like, why did you choose all of these colors on the same spreadsheet? Oh, I like to feng shui. Like I like all my colors to go. Like why are we using like bright everything? I prefer the muted colors and like, a little color scheme here and there. But what other programs? It could be like some stuff will be on the job. So like we're using a proprietary software to send stuff to Amazon that they made. We did that the same thing for Netflix. They had their own thing. For Sony, they had their own thing. So it's like there's no way to like pre-learn that. You gotta learn that on the job. But just be open to learning new programs, I'll say.
So, looking at your IMDb, you've not only, as you mentioned, worked as a post production coordinator, but you also worked as a 3D artist in Korea, a background artist, and, as you mentioned earlier, assistant animatic editor. And it's a very impressive variety. And did you find an interest in all of these roles and just want to like dip your foot into it or like really dive into it? Or was it just, it was there and you're like, why not? Why not just take it? And did you have a role that you favored more than the others?
Since moving to Los Angeles, it's just like collecting skills like Pokemon just to stay employed. So 3D modeling was my main like specialty, and that's what I focused on. Post college, like in college, you learn everything. So I had time to figure out that like, okay, I'm doing 3D animation, but like if I do this one shot, I have to push it more, but I don't want to. I just like, I tell people like all animation is tedious. Like, what tediousness do you like? I don't like the tediousness of pushing an animated shot. I don't like the tedious. No, I don't think anybody likes the tediousness of breaking. Like, there's like a few people. Like lighting. Actually, I really enjoyed my lighting and rendering classes. But yeah, like 3D modeling. Growing up, I would make different faces with Play-Doh, and I'm talking about as like a teenager. And I would cut up like when your mom has the pantyhose and they has the cardboard, like cutting up that to like and using tape to make dresser drawers. Like I would take a shoebox and like make a little house, and then use different cardboard to like make furniture and stuff like that. So I had the building thing already kind of ingrained in me. And so in Korea, I did environments, props, and vehicles because all vehicles in Family Guy and Cleveland Show were in 3D. And then even with a lot of animation you see today, you can really tell. I think because I was a script coordinator on The Weather Hunters, and I just saw Al Roker posted a happy birthday reel for Yvette Nicole Brown, she's the voice of something. She's not the mom. Can't remember what she's the voice of. But in the reel, I was like, oh yeah, that's a 3D car that's toon shaded. So, there's a concept called toon shading where you make 3D stuff with 2D. And then over in Korea, complex backgrounds were done in 3D, and then some props. I couldn't really figure out the reason why some props were in 3D, and I wasn't fluent in Korean, so I couldn't always ask my director anything, like specific questions. I just kind of had to clean it for myself. And so that was like my main passion. And then moving to Los Angeles with working in assistant editing, that is for this new life of sort. That is like what I like the best. Coordinating is very people-y. Script coordinating was what I liked the least. That was like people-y, my gosh. Because when I got the script coordinator, people were like asking me what a script coordinator does. And I was like, I don't know. And then like I was trying to Google it, but it's like the hardest coordinator to be. Like, because in assistant editing, I'm just kind of cog in a wheel. I just help the editor. I have to go to meetings, but I don't always have to pay attention. As a script coordinator, I'm like, I have to like plan meetings for people across like 4 time zones. I have to go to all the meetings and I have to take notes. So that means I have to pay attention. What? And then you gotta like coordinate all the writers and make sure they're on task for their deadlines for getting their scripts in and all that stuff. And I'm just like, this is a lot of peopling. But production coordinator, particularly post-production coordinator, you can kind of get away with it being less people-y depending. But I don't like fully dislike working in a teamwork environment. It just was like script coordinator was just a bit much.
Right. It's a lot that you have to manage at
Yeah.
once and really tight
And people's
deadlines.
personalities. It's not typically the work; it's typically the people, which is those hangups. But yeah. So assistant editing in this current iteration of my life is the fave. If I could get back to 3D modeling, that would be cool. But for now, it works.
Your activism through BlkWmnAnimator is amazing. From your videos speaking on Black representation in animation and video games, providing consultation, your experience in animation as a Black woman, teaching, and of course, your 100 Black series,
Mm-hmm.
where you interviewed 100 Black professionals in animation. That's incredible. Damn.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start any of this, and what kept you motivated to continue?
So, as you heard in my story before, it wasn't until my senior year of high school that I really was like, oh, I could do animation as a career. And so I didn't have the journey of my peers where they're like, I watched Lion King or I watched Aladdin and I knew I wanted to do that. I just was like, cool story, bro. Art, engineering. So I don't know. I just didn't have the vision of like just looking at animation and like I still drew like I drew from like my VHS tapes. The covers. I had like these Disney books. There was like magazines. Like a lot of people know about. There was the commercial where it was, do you want to draw a pirate or a turtle? That's called art instruction schools. I actually attended that school. So I did a lot of art training. I didn't do art in high school because I heard the teacher was mean. In addition to my laziness, avoiding mean people is another part of my journey. So yeah. So the reason that I started BlkWmnAnimator was because I wanted to expose people to animation at an earlier age. I expose people to animation as a career at an earlier age than I was. Because luckily I found it as a senior of high school, as a senior in high school. But maybe it would have been nice to find it earlier. I don't really want to like rework my journey because it's how I got to where I am. But that was the motivation for BlkWmnAnimator. So the furthest back I can find proof of me using BlkWmnAnimator is 2008, which is like when I graduated from college. I can't remember if I used it in college. I do remember I do remember like when I would do my films, my production would be afterthought productions. I was like, oh well, that's so woe is me, but yeah, like my thing would be afterthought productions. So I didn't use it as like my production company or anything for my like student film. And then when I moved back to New Orleans after Korea, I kind of leaned in more, doing like speaking engagements. Workshops and classes. So I feel like most people who know me as BlkWmnAnimator probably think it started as a YouTube channel, but it did not. Like it started as me like going in New Orleans and Louisiana, like trying to encourage girls and people of color to like be in animation. And then because a lot of people who live in New Orleans and Louisiana, what I gleaned is that if they're from there, they're either not leaving or they're leaving and coming back. And so I kind of felt bad for encouraging a bunch of people who may not leave and move to Los Angeles to be in animation because there's not a real. I mean, there's more animation companies now, but at the time there wasn't really a substantial animation industry in New Orleans. So I thought it would be better to take it online and access people who would maybe be willing to move to Los Angeles before we had the prevalence of like remote work and stuff like that. So that's how it became a YouTube channel. And so a lot of my initial videos were talking to the camera, and then I had a laptop, and it was like an old laptop. When I would edit my videos, it was breathing very heavily, and I would have After Effects open, and I would have to put the solid over my video just so I can edit to the sound because it would just lag so much if I tried to edit to the actual video. And so my thought was, what content can I create where I can do as minimal editing as possible. And so that's how I thought about interviews. So it was literally because I was too broke to buy a new laptop that I started doing interviews. And then I think once I got to maybe 70 or 80 people, I was just like, oh, maybe I should like try to concentrate more. Like, cause I do interview like all like people of color, but because of the milestone of like how close I was to 100, I kind of sprinkled in more like Black people in the later interviews just so I could like reach that by the end of last year. In 2020 and 2021, I think I had pretty much interviews that released every week, and sometimes I was interviewing people so much that I would release 2 in a week. And then 2022 was, I think, really light, and then 2023 was probably pretty light too. And so in 2024, I was just like, let me try to kind of get the motivation to get to 100. Yeah, so that was the milestone that I reached there. And so, like with BlkWmnAnimator, I'm just trying to encourage people, whether they want to get into it as a career or whether parents are confused on how they can support their kid. I did do a video with my dad where I was like, how to support an artistic kid, because my dad was very supportive of me in my artistic journey. Once I lived with him, like my mom would like buy me different school supplies and stuff like that, or like art supplies. I remember when we lived in New Orleans, I would like decorate our apartment, my mom's apartment, with like with holidays. I would do like decorations. I remember I did like some candy canes for Christmas one time, and then I always made up these like different songs I will not be singing, but like,
Oh, dang.
but like I accidentally dropped the candy cane behind the entertainment center and then made a song about it. So yeah, I always did that. So yeah, it just was like, and it's expanded since then. I'm trying to like do more stuff. Like I haven't really done any interviews this year, but more trying to just speak to people about what they need. Whether it's speaking to people who are quiet, have social anxiety, who are neurodivergent, who might just have some trouble with communication or networking, on how to like kind of get out of their shell, or how to navigate different things. And I have had a multitude of topics this year, and I have more to come once I just decide to sit down and record them. But yeah,
your beginnings of like going in and actively speaking in person to these students and using your the equipment that you have in order to like propel yourself and create online content.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people feel limited in regards to that. If they, because I still have my crappy laptop from '09, and like it's ride or die, it's not going anywhere at all, and I'm still busting open Flash on that bad boy too, and it's chugging along. So with that being said, because again, the climate that we're living in, especially, things are just getting more and more expensive, and hearing that you didn't want to and like understandably so, didn't want to purchase a new hardware and made it work for you rather than you working for it, I guess I'm trying to say, is inspirational. And look how far you've came as a result. So it's amazing, and thank you.
Yeah, I think even before, because I used to do all these like professional development programs in New Orleans, in addition to my career in animation, I used to be in the Urban League and then like do like professional development programs. And I did an accelerator program at a place called Propeller. And I'm saying that I kind of understood this idea maybe before I did the accelerator program, but what we learned, it was a program to try to get like educational nonprofits off the ground. And so we did something called iSTEM NOLA, where we were trying to get STEM professionals to speak to kids in different schools around New Orleans. And something that they introduced to us in the program was the business canvas model. And there's this concept of the MVP, the minimum viable product, where you try to just like get something done, get as much done as you can. So they would show this like illustration of like sometimes if your end goal is like a bicycle, sometimes the way people think of their business is like, oh, the tire and then the frame and then the handlebars and then the bicycle. But the idea of the minimum viable product is like the skateboard, then the scooter, then the bicycle. Like it's like, what can you deliver to your customer that still gets them to the goal? So like a bicycle is to get you from point A to point B. You can get from point A to point B with a skateboard. You can get from point A to point B with a scooter, and then you can go up to a bicycle. So like with your product, like for example, if you want to do like a course, something they would say is like, first do a landing page where you just have a page on a website, and then you add, and it's like, I'm going to do 3D modeling classes, and then put your email in if you're interested. And that's how you can gauge like how many people are actually interested in these things before you spend all the time. Because the old school way is to create this whole business plan, and maybe when people are creating like actual products, like do all this research and create this product that nobody wants. And so the idea of the minimum viable product is like, get something out there to see if people even want it. Then you can build from there. So
dang, I think I need to hear that. Thank you. So what do you feel are the next steps?
I'm still trying to do more with BlkWmnAnimator. I don't really know when I will get back to doing interviews. I feel like the transparency piece, because I did do a video on like a vulnerability video earlier this year because I wasn't creating content, and I was kind of trying to figure out why I didn't feel motivated to create content. And so I put a lot of my thoughts in that video, but something that I like realized after I like stopped pressing record was that I had been doing BlkWmnAnimator for 7 years. I started in like December of 2017. And then I interviewed all these people and outside of the Black people that I interviewed. And there was this idea that, people say that they support me, but it didn't show in like fully in the subscribers, and it didn't show in me being able to be monetized, which with like YouTube monetization, you have to have at least like I think 1,000 subscribers, and then at least at the early stages, you have to have like 4,000 watched hours. But in the past 12 months, so it's constantly a changing number, and so it was me maybe lamenting about, okay, people say that they support me and they say they watch my interviews, but I'm still not at the 4,000 watched hours, even though I have like hour to 2 hour long interviews that I'm doing. And then I finished doing this 100 Black. I was like, okay, let me purchase these pins for the people I interviewed. I had my fraternity brother make the pins for me, and then I'm like, I don't have the money to send it to them. So that's the pressure, because like if I was monetized, then I'd have the money. So I feel like that's what went into me not feeling motivated to create more videos. And then that I was like, well, maybe do the vulnerability video just so I can like get it out there, because sometimes as an introvert or as like a quiet person, you don't want to be perceived. And I'm trying to get used to being perceived. A lot of times I don't do things because I don't want to hear what people say about it, but that kind of makes you smaller. And I feel like if BlkWmnAnimator is supposed to grow, I have to put myself out there more and be willing to be perceived, because if I can't be perceived at this level, how will I grow to a bigger level? And my thought was to like practice being perceived so that I can at least have some tools down just in case I explode one day. And so I can be like, okay, this is on a bigger scale, but at least I know to like, okay, maybe this is how I have to navigate my comment section, and this is how I have to navigate this. So I decided after the vulnerability video to do like smaller content that is more catered to social media, like more than your long form YouTube content, because also the entire time that I'm doing these interviews, I know that I can probably get the watched hours shorter content better, but I'm like, I'm doing this for a purpose. I'm doing this to highlight people. It would be very nice to have motivation from other people, because sometimes people admire you, but they don't tell you. So like you're just in this void where you're just like, does anybody care? And then I have like a lot of self-motivation, but then the self-motivation kind of like got to a point where it ended, and then I have to like get my second wind. And so I'm at my second wind now where I can be like rely on myself. but sometimes it's nice to hear from other people that you're like doing a good job. And as a very independent and introverted person, like I don't necessarily need that to do anything, but it's just like nice to know that like you're having an impact, not for like just like vain reasons, but just like I can speak in my head like if I just get one person, then it will be okay. But then sometimes it's like, I'm doing all this work and I can't monetize and I can't send the pins to the people because I don't got money, and so the pins are sitting in my apartment. So it's just being a
Yeah, I relate to that like 100%, and I feel like a lot of artists and creative types can relate to that too, where it really just you're making content and like you hear people say, "Oh, this is so good," but at the same time, you don't really see the reflection of that. And it gets a little frustrating, but like at the same time, you feel like there's an obligation to continue in case there is that quiet person who enjoys the content. I mean, like me personally, I like creating color is not monetized either, and I'm going in the red with creating in color actually, and I've been thinking about just like pulling it, but then I remember that I was approached and someone actually recognized me from my podcast and was like, "Oh, I really like creating color." And I was just like, "Okay, I guess I have to keep it going."
It's very interesting to like when I moved to LA, and I moved a month before the pandemic, so it was a while before we could like human outside together. And so I think it was like that first BlkWmnAnimator picnic, maybe a Juneteenth picnic that I went to, and like somebody asked for a hug, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like a part of it, like being recognized and like somebody like being like, oh, I know you are, like, can I get a hug? And then I do get the inboxes every so often of people, like when I created my authentic networking video, the thought was like there might be like neurodivergent people or just like social anxious people who don't know how to like do this. And then a guy hit me up on the DM on Twitter and was like, I'm neurodivergent and I got a lot out of this video. And I'm like, okay, if he got something that the purpose was served. I'm sure other people got something, but it's just like that's who I had in mind. And sometimes, like my dad, and like just in life, learning that you have to teach people how to treat you. So like even with me coming out with that vulnerability video, and people, I don't know what it is with people like trying to squash your emotions. Like, oh well, you did. Like, not in a explicit get over it kind of way, but like in a quiet get over it, like get over your emotions because you're doing great. But it's just like, no, I kind of am new to emotions because like sometimes in previous relationships, like dudes were like, do you have emotions? I'm like, fair point. But like I'm trying to express my emotions more, and so I don't like that people try to squash your emotions and your vulnerability when you're like people don't realize how much it took certain personalities to be vulnerable, and for that to be the reaction is just like, let me be. Like I'll tell people like, no, I'm going to feel my emotions. Because like not a lot gets me kind of emotional. I might, if I want a good cry, I might go watch the like adoption videos or like the chroma glasses videos, or like the I haven't seen this person in 20 years videos. Like if I just want to cry for some reason. But like I'm just like not. I'm kind of even keel. Like the mentality I have in my daily life. I just look at failure and different things in a way where it doesn't depress me or anything. So if I do feel my emotions, like I want to feel them. Stop telling me to feel them.
Yeah. So. Absolutely. And also I think it's great that you don't listen to those naysayers and you stay like in your emotions. Like I don't know if you're familiar with the rapper Samus.
That sounds weird.
But she's amazing. But she has a song called 1080p, and it's her just kind of reflecting on life and speaking about how like a relationship kind of left her like feeling little, and she took herself to therapy and she was finally growing. And there's a line where she says, I'm conceding that my feelings are amazing and I'm loving me.
Yeah. It's just like in responding to the comments in that YouTube video, it's just like having the confidence to tell people like, no, I will feel my feelings, and just practicing that. And because as a person who, like, as a child, my dad would jokingly call me like this mean and grouchy. I have this overcompensation of being nice as a result of that childhood trauma. But but like, even if it may be off-putting to someone for me to do that, I still have to stand 10 toes down on who I am and what I want to communicate to people and how people should be responding to me. Like, obviously, the internet is the wild, wild west, and people say whatever they want, but I can also regulate how you talk to me on my channel. And people weren't being like necessarily mean, but it's just like, no, I just want to let you know that I'm going to feel my emotions. I'm not going to rush through them. So.
Okay, now is the time for rapid questions.
Okay.
Where I'll ask you a series of questions and you just answer them as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I believe so.
All right, I love it.
Hopefully.
Okay. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving. When I was a child, it was more Christmas because you got presents. But then, at a certain point, you stop getting presents. So I'm all about the food. Even though we do get the same food at Christmas oftentimes, but
right, yeah.
Because of food, Thanksgiving.
I feel like I already know the answer to this,
Mm-hmm.
but dawn or dusk?
Oh, yeah, dusk.
Yeah, I was
like the only time I see dawn is if I always say I only see like 6 a.m. from the back end, not the front end. Like if I'm up at 6 a.m., it's because I stayed up, not because I got up.
Right. Yeah. Cake or pie?
This is hard because it's like, is it yellow cake with chocolate icing, or like sweet potato pie, or like apple? Oh, man.
Yes, it's you have to pick between yellow cake with chocolate icing or sweet potato pie.
All right, let's go with cake.
Oh my god, I can't believe this sweet potato pie dirty like that.
It's like, it's more cakes than yellow cake, and sometimes, like, I don't know. I could, but I like, because what is cheesecake? Because like,
I think it's technically a pie, personally. It's a custard pie.
Like, my favorite cheesecake is cherry cheesecake, which is like a deep cut. Like, it's like I had to learn how to like other cheesecakes because nobody sells cherry cheesecake anywhere. It's always strawberry.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, but like when my sister my older sister makes it for me, the last time she made it for me, maybe, or the time before that, I ate it all in one sitting. Halfway through, I knew that I should stop, but
but you pushed that thought aside and continued.
So, if we're gonna consider cherry cheesecake pie, then I'll go with pie.
Okay, sounds good. What is your favorite childhood TV show?
That is impossible. Because there's cartoons, then there's live action, and then there's the different eras cartoons, because there's like Looney Tunes, and then there's like 90s, and then there's 2000s, and then there's 2010s, and then there's live action. So let's see, childhood TV show. I just saw on Threads that it's like the 34 year anniversary of Doug.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, which is kind of like crazy. I'm like, I was that young when it came out. But yeah, I don't know how to choose. It's so many things. I also like Fresh Prince and Family Matters. Like when I was younger, they had the thing called TGIF, where everybody sat in front of their TV on Fridays, where it was like step by step, Perfect Strangers, Family Matters, and something else. And so let's go.
Will it be easier if I let you pick one live action show and one animated show?
No, but I'll go with let's go. This is not true. Let's just go with Fresh Prince and Looney Tunes.
Okay. Sounds
Because it's just not. It's impossible to pick just one.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
Do I need or do I get? Because what I need is way more than what I get. I feel like I would go with the typical 8 hours is what I need. but I'm typically getting 4 to 3.
Are you me? Like, what's happening?
Like, I think I need to be more stringent about it because I feel like recently in the past month looking in the mirror and like I was like, oh no, I need to start going to sleep. I got bags? No, what is this? Aging? Absolutely not. So let me go to sleep.
Okay. What is your favorite number?
5.
Why?
And 11. But so like when I join my sorority, we sometimes get numbers, and so I'm a number 5. Number 11 is from when I played basketball. I always had number 11 as my jersey number.
Oh, lovely.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite season?
Summer. Even though like I would prefer to have enough money to have my AC on all the time, but I'm not paying that bill. But
Yeah, no.
But I don't like being cold. So summer.
And what is your favorite seasoning?
Black pepper. I
Mm.
buy pre-made salads now, and I tried putting black pepper on salad once, and it was delicious. Like seasoning salad, I'm like, wow, that's a concept, and I keep forgetting to do it. So, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, of course. And pick a word that starts with the letter. How mean do I want to go? We'll do Q. And it can't be queen because people always pick queen.
I was gonna go with quiet.
Oh, all right then.
I'm seriously thinking about maybe at 60 or 70 years old, I make it there, becoming mute. I used to be like very quiet K through 12, and then I learned to talk, and then you discover like nobody listens. So it's just like maybe I'd be done doing my thing with talking by that time. But also, I'm looking forward to being old and being able to say whatever I want, so I might not go mute. Because, you can theoretically say whatever you want at any age, but then people think you're an a-hole. So
Right.
when you're old, people are like, yeah, they're old.
Yeah, it's more acceptable to just drop off filters once you're like in your 70s.
Yeah, and I always like to tell people, like, I'm not shy, I'm quiet. Like, I just don't feel like I have to talk all the time.
I like to call myself observant.
That too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Deborah, for speaking with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do you have any social media you'd like to share with us?
Thank you for having me, first of all. I appreciate it. As far as social media, you can follow me at BlkWmnAnimator everywhere, BlkWmnAnimator. If you want to see any of my 3D stuff, I had a rebrand a couple years ago of like Deb the 3D modeler, because I was like, I probably shouldn't be posting both things on BlkWmnAnimator. So yeah, BlkWmnAnimator or Deb the 3D modeler.
Thank you. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in. If you're interested in supporting Creating in Color, please follow us on Instagram or YouTube, because I ain't fucking with no Twitter anymore. And tell your friends and family about us. If you're interested in following me, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube at Maybe It's Kaybe. Thanks to Namikaze for creating the ending theme. You can find more of his music on his SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/Namikaze. That's Namikaze. And if you're interested in supporting Creating in Color financially, consider a one-time or monthly donation through our PayPal or our Ko-fi account. Or Ko-fi? I always forget. Ko-fi.com/Creating in Color. Links available via our link tree. Before we wrap up, do you have any departing words of wisdom for everyone listening?
Well, for any artist, I feel like a lot of artists feel like they have to be content creators these days. I created a TikTok video about this. You don't have to be a content creator. You can post your art whenever you want. You don't have to feel the need to feed the machine. But if you still have a platform where somebody can check out your work, that's what you should be going towards as an artist, not trying to be like a content creator and be like, I have to post 3 times a day, or I have to post like so many times. Like, all you have to do is post so that if you want to apply for a job or if you want people to find you, they can just see what you're doing, and you can see your growth over time. You don't have to kind of be a hustle. It doesn't have to be a hustle. I don't know why people think that.
Thank you so much. This has been Creating in Color. Keep striving, keep trying, keep creating. Bye.
Bye.